Hi, and welcome to Zoodio, brought to you by Tazoo, a global customer experience consultancy focused on creating and delivering digital experiences. At Zoodio, we promise you interesting conversations about customer experience, digital experience, user experience, design, and technology, uniting to build better moments around the world. I'm your host, Heather Broxson, and in this episode, we're talking to Christine Linn, the Global Business Development Executive at Tazoo. So, Christine is an award winning business dev expert in tech with a resume that includes positions at Oracle, Microsoft, and most recently at Dell, the maker of my first laptop, where she spent 9 years as a successful account executive. Today, Christine is going to share with us how she honed the art of building professional relationships and developing client trust by listening, learning, and ensuring that success as defined by the client is the ultimate goal. Christine, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Heather. Thank you.
So, as someone who has built a very successful career on building strong client relationships, what would you say is like your number one tip for helping to foster those relationships?
Well, I'd say that every business relationship really starts with understanding who your client is, what they do, and how their business has evolved to date. So preliminary research, at least for me, is vital. The more I learn in advance of our first conversation, the better I'm able to relate to where the client's business is currently and to work with them to explore their goals and challenges.
Is this skill of being able to, do a lot of research on your clients, is this something that just came naturally to you?
Well, I've always been a researcher. It just comes naturally for me to want to know everything about everything. I'm a huge fan of LinkedIn, Google, Wikipedia. In this day and age, anyone who comes to the table with a prospect or client unprepared is not doing the best they can to understand their clients.
So you're naturally just kind of curious and you love to research things?
I am, yes, actually, anything and everything. I probably access some type of research tool a good couple hundred times daily. It could, stem from me watching a movie and wanting to know what happened to a certain actor or actress. It could stem from something on the news that piques my interest. And certainly when I'm working, I'm constantly researching anything and everything.
I feel like tech is almost another language all in by itself. How do you keep current on? Do you keep current? Do you think that's an important part of your job?
I do. It's a huge challenge because there's so much out there. So keeping current, I think, it's a relative term because you're never going to be able to absorb everything that's out there. Um, Again, for me, I find that one of the things that is really helpful is I'm a born researcher, so I'm just naturally curious. I always want to know more. So that's helped me a lot. Again, having the right tools, I think, is really important. If you know the publications, if you know the agencies, if you know certain entities that are going to consistently generate information that is going to be helpful for you, get on their notification list. For me, because I do business development globally, it's much more of a national and international feed. I rely a lot on the people that I work with to point me in the right direction. You had interviewed Kurt Kaiser, who I work with. Um, Kurt's expertise is in Japan and Asia Pacific. So he's my go-to guy right away. If I need to know something, if I need to learn something, then I'm going to increase my chances of being effective and decrease my chances of wasting time significantly if I go to that resource. So I think it's really important to access all the resources that you can, and through that process you will learn and you will cull to the point where you have a good feed of what you need, but it's always a challenge.
Do you have favorite platforms to do your research on? I would just Google, I guess.
Google, definitely. Wikipedia is one. I actually contribute to Wikipedia because I use them so much. And then obviously LinkedIn is a daily application for me. It's part of my lifeline when it comes to business.
And so when you're researching clients, LinkedIn would be the big one then.
Yes, absolutely. LinkedIn is obviously the first go-to. I would say it's the best business platform out there in terms of networking, business development, research. LinkedIn is an amazing research tool. I think people don't realize that. It depends on how deeply you dive into the platform, but it's an absolute must. I look at everything. So I look at what schools they went to because there may be some areas of commonality there. I look at who they're connected with because oftentimes you can get warm introductions to people that you want to speak with. A lot of times I actually connect with what I consider to be prospects or potential clients because they posted really interesting information that has to do with the industry that I'm involved in. And then you can do corporate research. If you use LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is their business development tool, then it opens up a completely new area of research. You can basically do a lot deeper research into companies. There are a lot of search parameters that you can use that aren't available on your regular LinkedIn platform. So it's invaluable for me.
Oh, that's so cool. How does that translate into building those client relationships? So, like, I know you said like you can get like warm introductions. Beyond that, how do you actually use that information?
I'll give you a perfect example. There's a company that I've been watching for a while because my particular business right now, we have an application and we have a platform that I think would be a really good fit for them. And so I've been doing a little research on them, and I've been watching several of the people who I think are important decision makers and influencers, and they are posting a lot of content around digital transformation right now. They're posting a lot of content about, board members that they're presenting to, where they're trying to follow the trends of what's currently going on in terms of companies focusing on getting more into the 21st century in terms of their digital experience platforms. So I've been able to learn a lot through looking at their content, through looking at their videos, their webinars that they posted, and I've been able to gain understanding about how that industry feels and is moving as a whole and as the sum of parts in that direction.
Okay, and so then when you gather that information, then when you reach out to the client, how does that look? Like, is it just like, "Hi, I'm interested in this too," or
Typically, I try to establish a rapport before. So when I connect with somebody on LinkedIn, they're connected with me. So they're seeing um, all of my content that I'm posting on their LinkedIn feed, as well as me seeing theirs. So it's a great way to communicate before you even get to the point where you're reaching out initially to make contact. It's a great way to find where your interests are in common, where you think your company's product and service offerings can actually strike a chord with that individual that you're trying to reach out to. So you're not reaching out so cold as you are if you just reach out with a message saying, "Hi, I'd really like to do business with you. Please connect with me." It's much more interesting and much more compelling when you can reach out and say, "Hey, I saw the webinar that you co-hosted with this other person, and I thought some of that content was really valuable. It really resonated with me. Can we connect?" What a difference that makes. And your success rate of connecting with those people and starting to establish a rapport really goes up.
have you always been good at connecting with people? Like, is that something that's always been just part of your like the way you relate to other people, or?
Yes, actually it has. So my whole career background has been in marketing and sales and business development, mostly in the high tech and IT industries. But long before that, I grew up in Europe. So when I was 12, my father actually moved our family to Austria because he was on a 4-year contract working over there. So I ended up going to the American International School, and I ended up being a foreigner, literally in another country. And it's a real learning experience because you have to develop self-reliance and the capability of being able to make yourself heard, uh, communicate in the local language, make yourself understood, learn a respect for local customs. So you have to be able to get yourself out there. Not only that, in Europe, long before the United States, public transportation was something that even little kids could ride alone. So you had the opportunity to get out there and be independent as a youngster, which oftentimes in the U.S. you don't have. So it's just been something that's always been a part of me. I really enjoy people. I really enjoy learning about new cultures. Um, my parents were fearless travelers, so I think that was just something that was instilled in me.
Done anything I could to have had my parents move abroad when I was in high school.
It was quite a shock when we did it. We kids had absolutely no idea what was going on. We had a little bit of prep, but once you get over there and you realize that you don't know how to ask the bus driver to open the door when you're on a public bus, it becomes very real very quickly. So, but it was a wonderful experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world, and it really impacted my entire life and kind of shaped who I am now.
Did you learn the language?
Oh yes, yes. I'm reasonably fluent in German. If I went back and spent a month immersed in the culture and the language, I'd be fluent again. And I actually have a business partner, who is based in Vienna that I work with now. So it really paves the way for us because there's a lot of commonality there.
Have you had a lot of long-term relationships with clients? I mean, I would assume that you must.
And that's one of the things that is very important for me. I am a relationship developer. So good business relationships do not work unless you have an established basis of trust and confidence. So for me, it's incredibly important to establish that base of trust and confidence in my customers. I worked at Dell. I had a 9-year career at Dell in business development. And actually, many of the customers that I had for multiple years. So we worked through their evolution as a business and their challenges at any given time. So it was really important to be able to establish that basis of trust because things don't always go smoothly. You're always going to have bumps. You're always going to have glitches. And if that client trusts you and has confidence in you that you will do whatever it takes to fix that, or you will go out and get that piece of information or that resource that they need, then you are going to have a much better relationship. It's going to be more rewarding for both parties. And I've had clients at Dell for years that I still keep in contact with now, and I have not worked at Dell for the past 10 years. So we still keep in touch via social media, and those relationships have been long-term and bonding.
So I'm curious, how do you stay organized? Like, I'm assuming throughout your career, you've had multiple clients at the same time. You can never just focus on one, right? How do you keep everything organized?
I think it's something that everybody develops internally in terms of how they do it for themselves. Excel is my best friend. Uh, so I'm big on spreadsheets. I'm big on spreadsheets for a lot of reasons. Number one is organizing and communicating, but I found them especially effective in terms of being able to break down a scenario in easy to read format for clients or prospects. Oftentimes you can talk about something on the phone, but until you lay it out in a format that's easy to read, especially one where that your client contact can share that information and you've already anticipated, okay, this person in this department who may be very important, who is an approver or an influencer, may have a completely different perspective on what they're looking for in terms of the information. So if you can anticipate that and put that in your proposed solution or the material that you're sharing, then it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I feel like this makes so much sense. So something that a lot of our listeners might not know about you is that you ride horses and train in dressage. And that's something that I have done as well, a little bit of, but I'm not as organized of a person as you. And I feel like that must help with the dressage.
It does. It does. I was raised with horses, and I was raised. It's a wonderful opportunity to really learn responsibility and self-awareness and self-confidence in an early age, especially the responsibility part. There's nothing more challenging and more rewarding than taking care of 1,000-pound animal on your own, involving everything. It's like having a baby, it's literally you're feeding, you're doing all of the care. But not only that, when you get to the point where you're competitive like I am, then you are managing a portfolio of paperwork. You're managing a portfolio of entries. International horses have passports. You're managing all of your travel, your hotel, everything that has to go with that. So it's literally like running a business, or it's like supporting a client. In this case, the client is me.
Would you say you're pretty competitive?
Yes, I would definitely. I like to win. Who doesn't? Um, the beauty of competitiveness for me is I really enjoy competition. I love winning, but frankly, when it's for myself and it's something, like horses, just being there and experiencing the moment and being around the people and seeing all of the beautiful rides and just enjoying the competition, it's so much fun. On a business level, you win some, you lose some. I like to win more, obviously, than I lose. But in a lot of cases, I've actually had wonderful interactions with prospects that haven't turned into business deals, but have turned into excellent business relationships and business contacts and rapport that has been value add for me down the line. So I consider most of what I do winning.
I feel like with business development, there's a lot of, or there can be a lot of emphasis on money. Like you're developing business for the company you're working for, uh, which then can be, I think maybe sometimes it can be counterproductive for what the client wants. Like the bad rep that people in this business get is selling things that the client doesn't need, um, and looking out more for the bottom line than for their clients. How do you balance that? Like working for a company that needs to make money and then also trying to please your clients.
Well, pleasing the client is first. Obviously, making money is important, but there's a smart way to do this, and that is if you identify the client's objectives, their goals, and you're clear and concise and in collaboration with your client developing how that's going to look, then you really minimize the amount of surprise that may be involved. I think when it comes to selling IT technology like hardware and software, and I'll use Dell again as an example, that's predominantly what I was selling there, although I also was very involved in services. It's really important that when you go into those final stages of a project, you already feel comfortable with and confident that you've done all your due diligence and that the client has a very clear picture and understanding of what's going on.
Wait, so I did actually notice on your LinkedIn that you won awards. Could you share what those were? I was curious.
Yeah, actually, probably the most significant was I was Sales Rep of the Year um, when I was working at Dell. Multiple years ago, I had a really good year, and Dell is very generous with their awards. So I was in the president's circle, and they sent myself and a whole group of Dell people who had also won to Mexico. Although the trips varied, they could be anywhere from Puerto Rico to Mexico to Europe. So it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. It's always nice to do well.
Yeah, it's nice to be recognized. Something you're good at. So I have a question. Do you have a background in like being international? You do horses on the side. What brought you into tech?
No, actually, I have a degree in sociology and anthropology. When I left school, the first job that I had was with Oracle, was with an information technology company, and that pretty much got me my start, my foundation, if you will, in everything having to do with IT. And then successively after that, I worked for several companies, including Microsoft, including Dell. Um, I got into the business development aspect of it actually when I first started at Dell. I had thought of myself as being an IT sales and biz dev person. Um, but I got into the job because I had just moved to Texas from Colorado, and this was a time when things were not going well in the economy. So I had no local references, I had no local network. So I literally started at Dell as a temp. taking 30 calls a day on a sales queue. And if anyone had told me before that I would be selling IT, I would have told them that they were crazy. But it turned out that I really liked it. And I pretty much fast tracked through my career up to large corporate accounts and dedicated accounts. And I just enjoyed the ride every step of the way. It was really fun.
That's so cool. What a random thing to fall into.
Exactly. Who would have thought?
So as you've been doing this career, I'm sure you've run into challenges, and I'm wondering uh, what you've learned from the challenges you've run into, whether it be like learning how to communicate with clients better or learning how to listen better. Have you learned anything specific while you've been going through this?
Yes, I have. And that is that, as I said earlier, no matter what you do, there are always going to be bumps in the road. There are going to be issues. It may be something as simple as an incorrect part shipping out on an order. It may be as complex as you had a different understanding, perhaps, than your client, or your client's requirements have changed all of a sudden, either due to internal decision making or external factors. And I think the important thing there is that whether it was whether the foundational portion of that was a mistake on somebody's part, or it's just something that's naturally organic that's happening, is to keep your cool. There's always a fix, and the way to really approach that is think from your customer's perspective. Think about how you can provide options to them, not just assume blame if it's your fault, which you should. If it is your fault, then honesty and frankness with customers is absolutely at the core of what I do. I don't mix up. I don't elaborate. I don't exaggerate. I'm a straight shooter from the hip. If they believe in me, then we can work it out. So the first thing that I tell my customers, and this is in parallel to the question you're asking, the first thing I tell my customers is I don't know everything. I'm going to be the first person to tell you that I am not a master of everything. There are areas where I excel, and these are the areas where I can work with you. If I don't know the answer to your question, if I'm not sure, if I need to track down a resource for you, I will find and I will deliver that resource or that answer to you. You can count on me. If I don't know what it is that you need, I will go get it for you. And I think that's really critical. And when you establish that right at the front, when you hit those big problems, and those big challenges, customers, they're going to be mad. There's no doubt about that. They're going to be, in some cases, incensed, but they are more likely to listen to you in terms of figuring out a fix. So I think that's really important. And in my early career days, I think due to lack of experience, oftentimes younger people in this industry or in this career path will want to push a positive solution or kind of overlook the reality of the situation. And the truth is, you're going to have much better results if you really keep it simple and you keep it honest and you keep it truthful and you keep it in the real and the now. So I think that's really important. I think that's probably the biggest thing I've learned is just making sure that my customers understand from the very start that I am their go-to resource. I am their trusted advisor. If they're upset, if they're angry about something, they can come to me and I will listen and I care and I will do something about it. If it's something that we can't fix, then we're going to have to figure out another way. But I found that to be, a mainstay of my career and my success in my career.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good. Would you say that the approach to business is unique? I feel like a lot a lot of people have had bad experiences with people in the business development area, and I think if people had experiences with you, they're going to be almost always positive. So, do you think your approach is unique?
I don't actually. It's not really unique. Um, But individuals who are successful understand that the only way to truly build credibility and trust, as I said before, with a client is to understand their business and to listen very attentively to everything they have to say. Um, Often a successful client relationship really hinges on the small things that contribute to larger challenges or objectives. And as I said before, the more a client trusts and views you as their primary partner and advocate in supporting them in the relationship, the more likely they are to share valuable information with you that helps you to help them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Is there anything else that you wanted to say about building and listening and learning and making client success number one thing and building success?
I'm really happy to share this information with you today. I'm really happy to be talking with you today. I think it's really important for people to understand that business development isn't just about sales, it's about a partnership. Uh, in working for Tazoo, we are all about building relationships. Our clients have long-term goals. Typically, our projects are long-term, meaning a year or longer. We're looking for clients who have a big picture idea of what they want to accomplish within the digital realm of their business, within their customer and user experience, within how they're handling their content and their information, both internally and externally. So it is absolutely critical, and I'm thrilled to be part of it. And for those of you out there who are possibly considering looking at Tazoo or looking at what we have to offer, I welcome the opportunity to speak with you. Please feel free to reach out to me. I would enjoy it.
Do you have any final words of encouragement to leave us with just for life?
Honestly, having come through COVID and seen the resolve of people both in business and in personal walks of life, I'm just so excited to see people really enjoying themselves again and interacting with each other. I think that businesses really learned how important this social interaction and interaction in any way, shape, or form, be it social media, be it through your business segments, be it through your business outlets. I think it's really important, and I'm just I just have this really great feeling that people are becoming so much more interactive because they can, and they're really, really enjoying it. And I think we're seeing a huge and everlasting change in how people do business now and in how they communicate and interact with each other. And I just think it's really exciting.
Again, thank you so much to Christine for joining us today, and thanks to you for listening to Zoodio. Please like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and until we meet again, let's go be great.